I feel incredibly blessed for having met so many incredible men in my life. I had a husband, he's an ex-husband, we're good friends. I have a son, he has a wife, he has two kids. I have a daughter, she has a husband, I have a son-in-law. So men are in my life. My goodness, half the population are men and half the population are women. And when Birthing Better developed, we had a huge advantage. We did not treat these skills as though came from an ideology. We treated them as though they came from our body, because pregnancy is a body sensation. And the good news is that we all blink, we all cough, and we can all tighten up our rectum, which means that we can learn a set of body skills in common and then use those skills to prepare the body to open up, to let a big object out, and then use skills so that we cope and manage during the activity it takes for this baby to open us up, come down through and out our vagina. This is just pragmatics, and men excel at this. So, but here's the philosophical aspect of it. When a woman has a cesarean, she has been told since the 80s that that's not a real birth and that somehow she has failed. Do women always feel that way? No. Do many women feel that way? Yes. Do they feel that way because that's a biological imperative? No. That is an ideology that is taught to us, because a cesarean is compared to that ideal natural birth that birth advocates really identified in the 80s and have continued to identify. Now, you may come to this VBAC either from a non-laboring cesarean or from a experience where a woman labored and had an unplanned cesarean. You may feel that all unplanned cesareans are emergencies, and at the time they seem to be. And the question that we asked ourselves as Birthing Better families, which was a very hard question to ask, but it was required. If there was no medical care around, would your baby or your baby's mother have died? And that's an important question for you to ask. And the answer that 99% of women give is no. There are real emergencies. Even when I gave birth in 1970, if a woman's life was at risk, a cesarean was done. We were more prepared to lose babies historically throughout time, throughout the world. Before immunizations, we lost 20 to 30% of all of our children globally in all cultures before the age of 5. In all cultures, people are more willing to lose a baby than a mother, because there are not a lot of childbearing women in any culture at any time. Although in modern societies, this seems like a fantasy, because there are millions of births in America and millions around the world every year. But in your community, in your circle of friends and family, even in your town, there are very few women who are pregnant every year. So society doesn't want to lose mothers. We're more likely to want to lose babies. But we grieve that. And nowadays, losing a baby at a birth is considered the worst type of tragedy of losing a child. But anybody who has a baby or has a child knows that losing a child other than birth is infinitely more tragic, because we've gotten to know that child. So you need to understand that in your baby's mother's mind, the question of VBAC came up as soon as she started to recover, really, honestly. May have been just a seed planted. That may not be in your mind. You do not know how long she's been lingering with these thoughts. You can't do anything about it. Don't try. What you can do now, that she is saying to you, she wants to have a vaginal birth after a cesarean, is for you to get real that the vaginal part of labor, of birth, is very short, often quite pleasurable because it's very productive with pushing contractions that feel good, they work. She has to get through the hard part of labor. And most cesareans, unplanned cesareans, are done in labor, and most of them are done because women didn't cope well and get tired, or the first stage just goes on for a long period of time. And that is directly due to the fact that she has not prepared her body for birth, and you guys didn't have skills to make certain that she had effective contractions or that she was coping, because you had never separated out those two factors: suffering, lack of skills, issues or risks that become problems. Problems don't always end up with death or injury, but if they're not dealt with, they can end up more likely with an injury, less likely with death. So the first thing you're doing in this course is going to help her start to prepare her body so that this big object inside can open her up, that she can create space and be mobile and soft inside. And that includes preparing her vagina. And you have to do this. You need her to know that these practical skills are there to help her open up to let your baby out. And you're going to learn skills to help her cope, manage, work through, handle, deal with, stay on top of, and feel in control of the natural occurring pain of labor contractions that can be very, very painful, and she can suffer, be overwhelmed, or feel like she's going to die. So you need to see this as just the pragmatics of pregnancy, the pragmatics of birth, and understand that 100% of pregnant women will give birth, and your job is to help this one do it. And you can do it. No matter how long she's been thinking about this, you are now involved in her thought process. And whether you like it or not, she is asking you to not only support a VBAC, but to help her achieve that. Now, here's the secret. Not all women who want a VBAC actually do, and not all women who achieve a VBAC are actually pleased. So you can't get sucked in to her emotions. You are there to support her. She's just an individual like you with quirky mindsets like you. So your job is to get very practical and help her understand the depth of support that you're going to give her. And then you're going to work with her throughout your baby's birth, no matter where birth occurs, no matter who is present, no matter her beliefs, no matter her circumstances, no matter her choices, no matter whether she lacks choices, no matter whether choices change, and no matter what happens to or around the birth. This is your baby's birth, and you need to use skills with her to work through your baby's birth journey, because humans thrive on being skilled. And that's as simple as that.